necessarily at LaVerne. Guys really aren't interested in going to the NFL. They just want to play ball and get a degree. But at Cal and at Arizona, guys all had aspirations of playing in the NFL. So I have some NFL clips of the same stuff that we were doing technique-wise that you'll be able to see that transitions into the NFL. And again, you know, it's helpful for our guys. Our guys will say, well, how's it going to help me for the NFL? Well, I'll show you some clips and kind of go from there. But again, we turned it into 3 phases: the hold up part, line of scrimmage, the transition part. That means when the punt team transitions from a blocker to a cover man, and I'll go down all these techniques and flip back and forth. And then the last portion is the decision part. Near the return man is the contact zone. Is it a legal block or no block? Finish with proper leverage, or get foot in the ground and look upfield. And as we all know, punt block, punt return, time equals distance. The longer we can hold them up at the line of scrimmage, you know, the more time our returner has a chance to get the ball. We always told the guys, if we get 10 yards, that's a first down. That's a plus for us. That's a win. That's how we marked down, and that's how we taught our guys. Obviously, we wanted to score. When I was at Arizona, I think we returned 3 touchdowns, or we had 3 returns for touchdowns there. You know, 2 in 1 season. We did a good job. Guys got after it, and I mean, it was exciting for those guys. So again, the hold up portion. The first phase we taught our guys. We called it mirror offhand jam. Okay, we had basically cones separating these guys. For number 6, we tried to put them two guys per group. Let me see if this thing can move. Okay, so we had these guys just basically like a line of scrimmage. We had a snapper there. And we told these guys that we want to match foot for foot, okay? We'd tell them flip 2-3 times, and then we'd have them go all one way. Then they would flip, and then they would go the other way. So as you can see, the coach is directing them where to go. Hands are up. So right now, we want to work, okay, as you can see. Let me see if I can move my bar out of this way. Oh, there we go. We go back. So as you can see, these guys on the back end of this, these guys are the punt guys. These guys are the punt return. Both techniques are pretty bad. We want them in a squared position, almost like a DB, hands ready to go, okay? We just tell those guys, just match cleat for cleat. We want them to shuffle. He gives them a direction, and then they're shuffling. I'm not really concerned about getting their hand on yet. Both these guys are bad. Again, I'm just showing you examples. This is all of our spring when I was there. Too much hand action by this guy. He's shaking around. And we had all the skill guys basically do this. So we just called this mirror offhand jam. Too much separation. Too much distance. He wants to be tight to him. This guy's not bad. That was one of our DBs. So as you can see, he keeps a tight distance. He's going to use that offhand and wheel him out. Okay? But we're just basically teaching the line of scrimmage portion of this. Okay? The second portion to this is we called it clamp offhand jam. And that basically meant that both guys were going to, or the punt return team was going to be clamped on, and then he was going to practice wheeling him out. Some guys teach the armpit. Some guys teach the breastplate. We told him to get underneath that armpit and just drive him out, wheel him out. See, as you can see, the coaches showing him here. He's got to be aggressive. Those guys got to be aggressive at the line of scrimmage. Like I said, time equals distance. We got to be able to hold them up. My first year there, we weren't very good. We didn't have the dudes, so we were showing all these techniques, and we literally walked through it and practiced this multiple times. He does a pretty good job. He loses as they get in phase. He's a receiver. He's not bad. So again, that was the clamp, offhand jam. That was the initial line of scrimmage technique we taught him. Now I'm going to go to show you how it transitioned. This guy right here. He clamps on. He's riding him out. He does a pretty good job. Again, he could do a better job wheeling it out. He can do a better job at the line of scrimmage, but he's not bad. Flip to the tight version of this so you guys can see it. This guy right here, Evan Weaver, he was an All-American for them. As you can see, he does a good job at the line of scrimmage. Guy wants to go left, fine, take him, ride him out. He does a good job all the way down the field. And we tell those guys our saying on punt and return was ball me man. If I could stay between the defender and the ball carrier, there's no chance he's going to be able to make a tackle. So that was my job, my responsibility on the punt and return team is to explain to those guys, ball me man. So those were the initial two techniques we taught at the line of scrimmage. Now, we went back and forth on looking at the ball. Am I staring at the ball or am I staring at the punt team? Well, the punt team guy, he's not going to leave unless the ball snaps. So we ended up just telling our punt return guys to stare your guy in front of you or your man, and that's how we were going to go. Because oftentimes we'd be staring at the ball and the ball be snapped and our defenders running down the field. So those were the two techniques, the hold up part, the mirror offhand jam, and then the clamp offhand jam. Now the next portion to this was that transitional part. This is the one where if you don't have the athletes and you want to give them tools, this is what we taught them. We taught them the slingshot technique. We taught them the harass and trail technique. And then we just basically taught them to post out like you saw Evan Weaver on the last clip, wheeling them out. Basically, those were the techniques that we taught those guys. And I'll show you some of the clips that we did through practice. So this was the harass and trail. So we told those guys it's about every 3 steps, the punt guy was going to drop his hips. As soon as he sunk his hips, that means he was slowing down, obviously probably make a tackle or to try to get in frame of the ball carrier. And so we told him we wanted that arm hitting that basically shoulder. And when he sunk his hips, that was when it was my time to basically harass him. And that was up and down the whole field. You know, sometimes it's a 30-yard window, sometimes a 40-yard window. So that was one of the techniques. The other one was slingshot. These guys got tripped up. So I basically want to use my leverage to wrap around. I'm going to use that opposite arm to swing me through. So as you can see, Jordan Kanazik, swings through. So this is when I lose him as he transitions and I lose leverage. If we're returning through the middle and he gets inside leverage and I got to get inside of him, I want to use the slingshot technique. Some people teach it different, but we always taught is get that inside arm and swing your way across inside. So I'll show you now some of the clips of the actual game. Sorry about having to go back and forth. I don't have my Exos with me on my laptop, on this laptop. So now this guy right here, he loses leverage inside. Now he slingshots back all the way back inside just to get his leverage. Now he does a poor job of sustaining the block, but as you can see, he uses his leverage and gets back inside. And that's kind of what we taught those guys. Most of the time we ran a middle return. Now, obviously we had some returns set up, but that was what we wanted to do is typically an inside middle return. Now here's one of the post up, 23 right here. He does a good job. He extends his arm. He's just riding this guy out. No chance of making the tackle till he loses leverage right there. But if he stays in transition, he does a pretty good job. Same thing here, the post. He posts his arm out. He's got him. Now, he don't need to yank him there. He's lucky we didn't get a flag. This is a big return for us. Obviously, they're backed up. We want to win the field position battle. He's lucky he didn't get a penalty right there, yanking him down. But he does a pretty good job prior to that of getting him locked out. So to this guy until he gets ran into him. Show you one more. This guy right here does a pretty good job. He doesn't need to take him down like that. Obviously, we don't. All he's got to do is frail his arms. Typically, it'd be a penalty. But he does a pretty good job holding his guy and getting him down. Okay. So those are some of the, again, those are some of the tools we teach: the post, the harass and trail, and the slingshot. Okay. Now, the final portion of it is the decision part. Near the return man is the contact zone. Is it a legal block, block or no block? Sometimes the best block is no block. You know, if we lose that guy in transition and he's about to make the tackle, then flip around and find somebody to block. And that's what we told those guys. If you see the back of his numbers, back off. The other thing is we would tell our guys is to call a poison call if they felt that there was too many guys near him, so the guys would bail out of there and if he was going to make a fair catch. So some of the tools now in that decision part were restart, run the numbers, okay, rip by, and sit and fit. Okay, restart, run the numbers. Same thing. It was harass and trail all the way down the field, and then as soon as the ball carrier caught the ball. As you can see, the ball carrier's right here. That's how we simulated it. Punt return guy now flips, and he's going to try and obviously make a tackle now. Now, as a return team, we got to flip our hips, restart, run the numbers, and wheel them out. You don't want to grab cloth. Bad technique. He's on his heels. Just wheel him out. Wheel him out. I don't want to grab cloth like that. I want to grab that, basically that shoulder, the inside armpit, and ride him out. Ride him out. Okay? So that's restart, run the numbers. Again, these are just tools that they would have in their basically bag so that they would be able to use. They don't have to use all of them. They don't have to use any of them. But they were just tools for these guys to understand is these are the techniques I can use in this transition. Okay, so that was restart, run the numbers. This one's rip by. Basically, we put the can as a returner. The punt guys down here at the bottom, punt return guys here. We want to get in phase and just basically wheel them out, block them out. Like basketball. Come across, and I mean, a lot of these techniques now are being used by O-line. I saw, I did an NFL camp, and a lot of the guys are teaching them because you can't come back and knock them back. All we want to do is slow them down, give that returner a chance to catch the ball, get some yards. So that was rip by. Now this is sit and fit. If I got a chance that I can get in phasing them and I can help out our returner by blocking punt guy, is we call it sit and fit. So we're going to sit up and fit. I want to have my outside arm on that shoulder, my inside arm on the inside breastplate, and I want to drive them out. Here's a returner. Here's the punt return team. There's a punt team. I don't want to chop my feet that bad. Arms are too wide. You're not going to put your hands like that. He does a pretty good job here. That's actually a pretty good job. He was one of our tight ends, so he understands blocking, what we're looking for. So that was sit and fit. Now I'll flip back and show you some cut-ups of some of the stuff we did. Apologize for having to flip back and forth on you guys. So as you can see, this guy loses track. We just tell him, find somebody, 22, 20, find somebody. Don't block back, don't block nobody in the back. Here's a rip by. And again, shield and pro punting were two different styles. I'll show you the pro punt next. So 20 here sees the opportunity to do a ribeye. All he does is just get in the way. Okay. So again, those are some of the techniques we taught those guys. And we had gone over, again, obviously the guys understood, the tools because they're using it. So those, again, were some of the techniques we did and we practiced. The other thing that I really liked is we started doing this is basically a 2-on-2 drill, okay? After we've already gone through all the tools and all the techniques, we basically put 2 punt guys, 2 punt return guys, returners back here, you'll see it on the tie copy. And we basically said, get after it. Punt team's got to go. Punt team's got to go make the tackle. Punt return team's got to hold them up. This guy was one of our best special teams guys. He loses leverage there. Does a pretty good job of flipping his hips. This guy does a pretty good job maintaining him at the line of scrimmage. Like I said, time equals distance. He's holding him off. He does a poor job. He's leaning on him. He gets beat right at the line of scrimmage. That's not good. This guy does a pretty good job. Malik. He wheels him out. He does a pretty good job out of him. Like I said, ball equals distance, or time equals distance. Ball me man. This guy has no chance of making the tackle. And again, we use the coach to throw the ball just for sake of having a punter punt it, and balls are going everywhere. We had to return about 25, 30 yards away. And call it out names, just we got some. This guy does a bad job. Caught leaning. Bad job. Guys collision each other. So again, that's basically versus a shield type punt. Now, we didn't face too many pro style. I think the only 2 pro style teams we faced was Stanford. Washington State did it a bit. I'm going to show you some of the techniques based on the NFL guys off the pro style. I'm not sure how much pro style you guys face. I'm sure not much. A lot of people have gone away from that. And again, these guys are using the same techniques that we're using. You want to get in phase, hold him up. Ball me man right here. He's staying in phase. Former Cal guy right here, Lorenzo Alexander, played like 15, 16 years. He gets engaged in them. Guy has no chance of making the tackle. Ball me man. Obviously, the ball gets punted out, but he does a good job. And again, we showed our guys, for our sake, guys wanted to see how's this going to transition to the NFL. Well, they're teaching them the same stuff. Then you'll see a slingshot technique. This is almost that sit and fit technique we were showing. And again, block, no block. He don't find work. Now he's going to find some work. He gets within the guy. That's an extra 3-4 yards. Every yard is crucial. This guy does a pretty good job getting back in. He uses that slingshot technique. 59 here. Oh, sorry. .59 right here. You'll see him use that slingshot technique. He's going up against that big 97. He loses leverage. Uses that slingshot technique. Gets back inside. Now he's in between the ball carrier. Ball me man. Obviously the ball gets downed on the 5-yard line, but he understands the technique. He understands what he needs to do. And again, we showed these guys multiple clips of NFL guys using a lot of the techniques that we were teaching them so they understood what we were trying to do. This guy here does a good job of clamping up. He's riding him out. He does a good job. He's using that post technique after the guy transitions, the punt team transitions. And again, these are all tools. You don't have to necessarily say, hey, this tool you got to use this time. You give them tools, they can use it just like anything. From the receiver position, you give them tools, you know, how to get out press man. There's multiple tools you can give them. Same thing, D-line, you use different tools. Here's 47, clamp technique. Stays within his guy, ball me man. .22, does a good job getting back on leverage. Same thing. You want a little better leverage. This guy's going to use the sit and fit technique. Sits it, chair, fits him up. And I'll show you a few more, and then again, we'll open it up for any questions. I think I'm good on time. Baltimore Ravens, usually one of the best special teams. John Harbaugh's a big special teams guy. He always got some type of fake. He loses leverage. He knows that the return's coming in here. He stays in phase of his guy. So that's basically the techniques and the drills we do with our guys with the punt return team. I'll show you, while I have a little bit of time, some of the stuff we did for our returners catching the ball. returners coach was Bo Baldwin, who's now the head coach at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. Scan through this. Sorry, I don't have a clicker. Trying to go as fast as possible. Apologize, fellas. Some of the block stuff we did. So he did a couple different drills. He did a couple with towels. He put towels underneath for tight elbows. We'd have the punters punt him the ball. Then he'd take the towels off, have him see the ball. Then another one, he'd come in and he'd try to cross him, kind of throw off like there was a body coming their way. This one's here, they're coming from the sideline basically to try to catch the ball. They're coming from the left or from the right. See, as you can see, he's using himself like a shield to kind of just see if he'll panic. You'll see here, this guy gets close to him. Everybody turns around and scores. We score on this. But again, I just wanted to show you a few of the drills we use. I got drills separated, but again, if you after this, if you want to try and get some, I can try to send them somehow to you. Or if you want any of the punt return stuff, I can send it to you. But that's basically all I got, fellas. Coach, if you want to open up, we can answer any questions these guys have, or if they want to do it off of this, we're good.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. That's good stuff. You know, I've got a question real quick, Coach. Do you, when you're installing or coaching up the tools aspect of it, I noticed it was, smaller groups. Do you use like like stations, or are you focusing on maybe one or two tools at a time with more guys? How are you approaching that? You guys have more guys than a high school, program would, but what do you suggest?
So we separated in stations. So basically, I know time, it's the same kind of time we had of LaVerne. It's hard to show them on film. We don't get a bunch of meeting time, so we can't show them on film and stuff like that. So we would basically use a walkthrough period to show them the technique. So we bring in, like, let's say 2 guys as an example. If we were going to work the mirror offhand jam, we bring a guy and kind of walk through it of what the techniques we were going to do. So we separated. So the initial part was, okay, we're going to focus today on all hold up. Okay, so the line of scrimmage portion. And so we would separate them, linebackers, running backs, DBs, wide receivers, and just separate it through groups so that, there wasn't no mismatch. It wasn't a linebacker on a receiver, and he's getting the shit knocked out of him. So we kind of try to separate it into groups and have different stations. So one would be mirror offhand jam. The other one would be clamp offhand jam. So they're kind of working both tools, but we would start it with obviously the mirror first. They got to understand the mirror portion of it and match cleat for cleat. And then it would transition into clamp offhand jam, but we would go through stations. Now, once we already had installed all the tools, then we would just basically do it like a full circuit. Okay, one's going to do the hold up portion, clamp offhand jam. The other one's going to be harass and trail, and the other one's going to be a rip by. And so we would just give those guys 2 reps apiece, get them moving. Once they got those 2 reps, they would move on to the next station, just so that we didn't have to sit there and hold and wait a whistle, anything like that. Hey, once you got the 2 reps, if you were on the punt return team, you move to the next station, and then again, just continue to move on to the next station. Once everybody's done, then we're good, and we would transition out of it. But yeah, we would separate it. We were actually limited here at Cal in the essence of coaches helping, because we were transitioning through GAs. We didn't have enough GAs. So we were kind of limited on coaches. And really the hardest part is, unless you're the special teams coordinator, the head coach, most guys didn't really want to be involved in the special teams, but for our sake, these guys, for us, they were all involved. They were all open game in regards to coaches. So the hardest part was coaching up the coaches so that they could teach the techniques and be able to hold those guys to the standard that we were trying to teach.
Good. So guys, we're should be unmuted now. So if you've got something for Coach, go ahead. Anybody?
No, I think we're good.
Anybody? Any questions? Hey, Coach, I have some. How do you approach, or how do you teach and coach the dreaded block behind the back when the punt returner is busting a big gain? How do you guys is there a drill that you like that reduces that risk?
Yeah, we called it block no block, and so basically, I don't know if I have that or where I have it. Basically, we would have those 2 guys. I'll show you kind of an example. I don't have the actual clip. So it would be similar to this drill, and if let's say this guy was this guy's the punt team, right? He's going to get the returner. This guy's the punt return team. He's going to do a rip by. But if this guy beats him in a race, if this guy went full speed and beat him, he would beat him in a race. So if we said as soon as you see the back of the numbers, you're going to flip around and find some work. And so that's kind of what we would practice, and we would literally instill it all the time. And we would practice this drill. I thought I had it in my cut up. And so if the punt team guy beat me to the ball carrier, then I would just literally flip around and find work. And we hammered it down all the time in multiple drills, in multiple circuits. We would teach block, no block. So as soon as this guy has me beat, like technically if this guy took off faster, he would have me beat. And so if I can't get to him and do a rip by or sit and fit, then I'm turning around, flipping around, and I'm going to block somebody else and find work.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. That's good. Hey, I've got another question. Somebody just texted me, and the question is, Coach, what is your philosophy on when to return versus a block, maybe a full-on block or return? Like, any philosophies there, like the particular point of the game, or obviously something you've seen during the week? I mean, how do you approach the philosophy to make those decisions in the game?
Well, we always went in the game with 1 or 2 blocks. Now, at the point we used them would be basically if we felt like, hey, like I'll give you an example. Okay, we knew if they lined up in this look, okay, they had ran this look multiple times the previous year. This was our first game against North Carolina. We went in with the block to say, hey, if they give us this look, the block that we practiced is on. If they don't give us this look, then it's off. We're not going to it. We're not doing anything. We're going to hold them up and stay status quo. So we went in the game with 1 or 2 blocks based off the look that we had practiced. Now, if it was something different, because like Washington, they ran multiple formations. They had like 8 or 10 formations that they would do, and screw you up. Now, we would practice it. Okay, well, what everybody has things they like. So the special teams coordinator for Washington, he has a certain standard. Okay, well, this is my favorite punt. I like to look and be in this formation. So if we knew, hey, if this guy gives us this formation, our block is on, the block is called. If they change for whatever reason, then the block is off. So like against North Carolina, we knew that they had a left-footed punter, okay? If they had this two-man shield, they were going to roll punt, okay? So we were telling this guy, hey, you're going to kind of squirm down like he's a corner blitz, and he's coming. Now, he's a little late to the party, but we knew in this look, I think they shift into this. Yep, so they shifted. Okay, they started like this. They would start like this multiple times just to throw people off, okay? Sometimes they would punt. They would move this guy as a punter, this guy here. But we knew if they gave us this look right here, our block guy that we designated was here, Ashton Davis. It's like a 4.2 40 guy, 100-meter guy. So we knew they were going to roll punt out of this. And as you can see, guys know where we're going. Now, again, he's a little late. He could kind of come down a little more. But, I mean, if he would have cheated it down just a bit, I mean, we swallow this thing up and it's scoop and score. Now, he gets it. He gets a piece of it. But, again, you know, we knew, hey, if they give us this formation, they're roll punting. We're coming. Now, again, I'll show you another one. In 2014 against ASU, our rivals, the Scum Devils. This guy's late to the party. Okay, we knew that they were going to block down if we added an extra guy down inside the B gap. Because they had shown it weeks before. Wazoo actually did this to them. So we added an extra guy in the A gap, and then the B guy was tight to him. We knew this guy was going to block down. There was no way this guy has a chance to get to him from where he's at. So if he comes actually tighter, he's a little wide. If he came tighter, again, it would have been a scoop and score. But regardless, you know, we still blocked it. Good block. But again, we went into the game with 2 blocks, maybe 1, and we said, hey, if they give us this look, you know, that's the time we're going to call it. Now, obviously, there's certain situations. Hey, if we need the ball back or we're down and hey, we're gonna give up. There's a chance that this guy could run into the punter. I mean, obviously, we were willing to take that chance. You know, the head coach was willing to take that chance. Hey, this guy might run into him. You know, if we don't get there in time. Obviously, the snap was low. Helps us. He's left-footed punter, and we knew that that's where the block point was going to be. Does that answer your question, Jim?
Yeah, that's good. I like it. That's good. Hey, we've got another question here. Coach, what is, do you prefer, and maybe the reasons why, if you prefer a middle return versus like a left, right, or a boundary, or, you know, visitor sideline, home side, you know, all those things that guys do. So do you just through your history prefer middle, or is it for any reason that way? What do you think?
Well, the middle return for us was just like our basic return. Now, there would be teams that would rugby punt, okay? Let's say they were going to rugby right. They're going to roll right. Everybody's flushing down, and everybody's coming down this way. Now, we would set up a wall return to the field. Now, we would set up returns based off of how we saw those guys during the week, how they were going to go in their cover lanes. Sometimes guys all block down, and then they know that, hey, the ball's coming this way. We want to punt it to the right. So then, okay, we know, hey, there's a chance for a wall return. But our middle return was just our basic return, okay? If we wanted to say, hey, like this is all we're going to go in the game to is just the middle return. We're not concerned about getting a big return. We were just concerned with getting the ball back, getting it to our offense, and playing it safe. Now, during the week, again, with the block and return, we would always have a return set up, whether it was a middle return, a right return, or a left return. We would have something set up. Now, in regards, I know people have one where they're going to say, okay, well, to our sideline, just because that's where we feel more comfortable, or to their sideline. But we always went in middle return. We knew from basic of camp, hey, this was our middle return. We called it Malcolm 2. That was our middle return. We were going to bring 2 guys and middle return the ball, so that there was no confusion for the returner. There was no confusion for any of the guys on the punt return team. As soon as he called Malcolm, we knew it was going to be a middle return. Now, he can change it and say Malcolm right or Malcolm left, but that was basically our base package. Now, like I said, everybody's different. Once you watch those guys and scheme those guys up and say, okay, well, they like, if they're on the right hash, they like to punt it, between the numbers and the sideline, or, this punter's all over the place. If he's on the right hash, sometimes he'll get the ball in the middle. Well, even though his aiming point may be to the numbers or the sideline, he can't stick it there. So he's constantly kicking it down the hash. So then we would set up some type of wall return. So we would always look at it based on where we saw where their cover lanes were going to be, or if they rugby punt. Let me go back to this. So against Washington State, see if I have it. See if this is the rugby. Okay, here we go. Here was a wall return to the left. We knew and nothing against the kid, but we knew he was spotty on his ball placement. They're obviously trying to punt the ball to the numbers because they got this guy flexed out to the numbers, to the sideline. Well, we knew he was spotty. So you could see all these guys, they're working down this way, thinking that the ball is placed that way. So we told our guys, hey, this is a wall return to the field. So everybody's trying to wall their guy off. These guys are pushing their guy down that way. This guy's trying to stay in phase and block him out. And look where the ball's placed. This is an awful ball placement. This is the middle of the field. And so we knew, hey, this guy was spotty. So wall return. And we get a big gain out of this. I think they do it again. See, he rolls left, bam, and he kicks it the opposite way. There's no help. If this guy gets in phase and he blocks his guy, it's only one guy left in the punter. So that's kind of how we would do it. We would see their ball placement. So, every week, whoever we were going to play, we would chart their punts. Okay, where's their majority of their punts going? Is he getting proper placement? Is he not? Is he all over the place? This guy was all over the place. They used sometimes a receiver, that sweet kid, and then they would have a punter. So, we knew this kid was all over the place, and he struggled with his ball placement. So that was one of our returns we had set up. I think they do it again. Here's the receiver. Now the receiver's punting. We were trying to set up a wall return. Obviously, the guy does a good job of placing the ball. He was a pretty good athlete. He did a pretty good job. Now we were trying to set up a wall return. So prior to the week, Coach Drago would have me chart the punts and say, okay, well, where's this guy placing it? When it's a rugby punt, where does he place it? Majority of the time, if it's just a traditional punt and he's in the pocket, where's he punting to? And so that's kind of how we based off our returns as well.
All right. Anything else, guys? Or any other questions? Anything you got? All right, guys. Hey, I appreciate it. We'll wrap things up. maybe you guys can find Coach through Twitter or something if you need it. If you got any follow-up questions or you want to get some info from him, that'd be great. So
I'll give them my cell phone number if they want, Coach.
perfect. Go ahead.
All right. My cell phone number is 909-275-1956. And again, you guys can shoot me a text. You know, if I can get you filmed somehow, I'd be glad to. You know, again, a lot of all this technique stuff is stuff that Coach Regal does. You know, I think he does a hell of a job with the special teams. Obviously, a lot of it is just getting them motivated. Now, guys, nobody wants to sign up and play special teams. The important thing I will tell you this is a lot of kids don't understand the importance of playing special teams. You know, when we were recruiting guys, whether it was at Arizona or at Cal, you know, we wanted to see, is these guys, do they value special teams? Do they want to play on special teams? When I was at Cal, nobody was better than special teams. Obviously, we had a kid named Evan Weaver who was an All-American last season for Cal. He played special teams for us. So nobody was better than the special teams unit. If we needed a guy, hey, coach was good about it and say, hey, put this guy on special teams. So like I said, it is a lot of high school guys, I know because I coached it as well, you know, they don't want to play special teams or they want to come off the field. And I know sometimes for you guys are going both ways and all that stuff. I get it. But understand it is very important for those guys to get some special teams clips in there because coaches really do value their work on special teams. A lot of guys are freshmen. When we were at Cal, a lot of the freshmen, you know, we needed bodies towards the end of the year. Those guys were playing special teams. So, again, if you have any questions, feel free to text me. You know, I'll be glad to answer any questions. Or if you need anything on my end, let me know.
Awesome, Coach. Hey, I appreciate it. We appreciate it. I know you're super busy and appreciate you agreeing to do this. And it's been really good. I'm sure everybody got some stuff from it. That's awesome. I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Coach. Have a good one.
All right. See you guys. Appreciate you. We're back on again at 4:30 if you guys are interested. Well, it's going to be a separate email that you'll get, or separate link, I'm sorry. So it'll be the same principle we did this morning. It's just a different invite. All right. We good? Guys, have a good day. And appreciate you. And we'll talk later. Thank you.